Eagles and Cowboys set to clash for this NFC East rivalry game on Christmas Eve Saturday in one of the best rivalries in all of sports, not just the National Football League. It's going to be a phenomenal matchup with a lot at stake, with the Philadelphia Eagles having an opportunity with the victory to lock up the number 1 seed and celebrate an NFC East championship in the Cowboys visiting locker room. Kickoff is set for the afternoon slot, 4:25 p.m. Eastern. The Cowboys, line's kind of been fluctuating all throughout the week. I'm seeing 2.5. It went up to 5, down to 4.5. The over-under set there at 50.5. Going to take place at Jerry World. And if you hate those Dallas Cowgirls, I want you to type F Dallas right now in the chat. Coming your way on our preview. Really just the best preview that you'll find that any Eagles YouTube channel has to offer. And we begin with two teams, in my opinion, kind of going in opposite directions here. Eagles' last 5 games beat the Chicago Bears this past Sunday, 25-20, a little bit sloppy, but still came through with the win on the road in difficult weather environments. Week 14, crushed the New York Giants, 48-22. Week 13, another really impressive win against the Tennessee Titans. In primetime against the Packers, Philadelphia able to outlast Aaron Rodgers and the Pack. Final score 40-33. And Week 11, coming off that loss against the Washington Commanders, the only loss for Philadelphia this year, a 17-16 come-from-behind victory for the Birds in the final moments of that game on the road. As for the Dallas Cowboys, if you look at the record in these last 5, you might say, well, it's not two teams on the opposite end, right? Look at how the Cowboys have played the last 2 weeks. A loss to the Jags. They probably should have lost to the Houston Texans. The Texans had multiple plays inside the 5. If they get it in there, then they probably win that football game. In fact, they do, right? So they beat the Texans. They got lucky. They beat the Colts 54-19. But really, in my eyes, the last complete game for the Dallas Cowboys came all the way back in Week 11. So the Eagles right now playing better, and I just think flat out they are the better football team. As for the Cowboys injury report, a little bit banged up going into this one, but at this juncture of the regular season, a lot of teams are. Leighton, Vander, Esch dealing with the shoulder ailment, DeMarcus Lawrence with the foot injury, Jayron Kearse, shoulder as well, Jake Ferguson coming off a concussion, and Dorance Armstrong, an ankle and a knee. And the guy that was saying it's the system and the team, Micah Parsons, who took some shots at Jalen Hurts saying he doesn't deserve the NFL MVP. He's been a non-participant in practice Tuesday and Wednesday with an illness. I doubt that he misses this game for a guy who is in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. If he doesn't play, obviously, that's a huge edge to Philadelphia. Whether or not Jalen Hurts doesn't play, or Gardner Minshew plays, Micah Parsons is just an animal out there and a unique defensive talent. To the Eagles injury report, it's headlined by Jalen Hurts. Non-participant in practice on Wednesday. Probably won't practice all week, in my opinion, because of how sensitive that shoulder is on his throwing arm. Kevon Wallace, hip. Zach Pascal, non-participant as well because of a concussion. Tyree Jackson limited with a knee injury. Good news here. Even if Kevon Wallace can't go, which hopefully he can as a depth piece because C.J. Gardner-Johnson's still out, Reed Blankenship, the surprise safety, UDFA, full participant in practice this week coming off that knee injury suffered 2 weeks ago. So with that, the biggest question of our show today, it's time for you to get your predictions into the comment section. Who do you like to win this game on Christmas Eve? DAL for the Cowboys, PHI for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Philadelphia wins by a final score of 27-23, even if Gardner Minshew has to play. You take a look at the betting odds here. The over-under for this game, like I said, it's kind of been changing. 47, the favorites, Cowboys 4.5, but we were seeing 2.5 earlier this week. Going to be a good matchup nonetheless, and if you want to bet on this game, make sure you do so with our sportsbook partner, BetUS, offering the best sportsbook that any sportsbook, best deal, that any sportsbook does have to offer, a 125% deposit bonus. If you plug in that link, chatsports.com/EaglesBet, that promo code here to my right, Eagles125, you get a 125% deposit bonus. You put in $100, you get a free $125 back. That's $225 to game with for the Birds to put that beat down on the Dallas Cowboys. My take for this game, Eagles can still win it. Even if Jalen Hurts doesn't play, obviously he's been the result of 35 touchdowns so far this year combined through the air and on the ground. So it'd be a huge loss if he's not able to play. But this is what it comes down to. Philadelphia Eagles are a better team than the Dallas Cowboys. They are better coached than the Dallas Cowboys. They play better in big spots than the Dallas Cowboys. And there are some weaknesses that I do think Philadelphia can pinpoint and exploit in this game, again, even with Gardner Minshew, especially in that secondary. Outside of Trevon Diggs, this is a secondary that has been awful. Kelvin Joseph has been reeling the last couple of weeks. Deron Bland is their nickel corner. He can be taken advantage of. And other than that, a lot of bad corners on this team, and this Eagles receiving core top to bottom, one of the best and most versatile in the National Football League. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith showed that certainly as a top duo. Last week against Chicago, they went off. A.J. Brown targeted 16 times, caught 9 of them. 181 yards, that long of 68 came after that Jalen Hurts injury. Absolute dime. And Smitty, he's less than 100 yards away from surpassing 1,000 receiving yards as well. 5 catches, 126 yards for him, a long of 45. And I love the versatility that they bring, the different looks that they give this Eagles offense, and the overall dynamic ability that both of those wide receivers have. And they have the edge, even with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, against a porous Cowboys secondary. The Eagles offense also going to get back Dallas Goedert, who's been out ever since getting injured in the lone loss for Philadelphia against the Washington Commanders on Monday Night Football. And up until that point, he had been having a career year with 544 receiving yards and was behind Travis Kelce average yards per catch at 12.7. And for Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen, I think this is really important, right? This Cowboys defense statistically has been good all year, even though the last couple of weeks against Houston and against Jacksonville, they have not been good. I need to see the Eagles give the football to Miles Sanders more, try to establish the ground game earlier and often as compared to last week's game plan against Chicago, which just didn't make a lot of sense. See if you can establish the run with Miles Sanders, and don't ignore him. He's having a career year, one of the best backs in the NFL, and what that does is, if Gardner Minshew does play, sets up some of those play-action plays, those RPOs, and some of those passes deep downfield. Another big point of emphasis for Philadelphia, and this might be the biggest key to the game, the Eagles' pass rush can certainly overwhelm this Cowboys' offensive line, take over the game, and win it all by themselves. The Eagles are number 1 in sacks in the NFL this year, led by Hassan Reddick's 12. He's closing in on a career high. Javon Hargrave has already set a career high. So too is Josh Sweat, both of them respectively. 10, 9.5 sacks. Brandon Graham closing in on a career high as well. He's 1 away from setting a new career mark. And Fletcher Cox, who was not good to start the year, at defensive tackle to have 6 sacks so far heading into Week 16. His production also pretty good. And this Cowboys offensive line depth chart, a lot of holes here. This is an offensive line that for a long time has been good. They do get Tyron Smith back, but Tyler Smith at that left tackle position, will we see a little bit of Jason Peters, who's had to fill in here and there to actual levels of success. He's played pretty well, but this Eagles defensive line against this Cowboys offensive line, the edge certainly goes to Philadelphia. I will tell you this about what the Cowboys have done offensively. They've been running the hell out of the football with Bo Tony Pollard as well as Ezekiel Elliott. And this has been a trend for Dallas the last couple of weeks, and it will be a true test for this Eagles rushing defense, which before the acquisitions of Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh, getting back Jordan Davis, they were historically bad against the run, and that is the forte for this Cowboys team. And honestly, I think that's when they're better. That's when they're a stronger offensive unit, when they run the football more and don't rely on Dak Prescott. If Prescott has to throw the ball 30, 40, 50 times, that gives the edge to Philadelphia. You see what Dallas was able to do against the Jaguars last week. And as we round out our preview here, think about this, right? Close your eyes. You want to wish for something from Santa for Christmas. This game taking place on Christmas Eve. Is there anything better than winning the NFC East in the Cowboys' house at AT&T Stadium, Jerry World in Arlington, Texas, and in the process, locking up that number 1 seed? The answer to this question, no. I hate the Cowboys. You hate the Cowboys. and to officially win the division, rock those shirts, put on those hats in the Cowboys' house. How about them Cowboys? I think it happens even if Gardner Minshew plays. So with that, predict the score. I gave you my score prediction a little bit earlier. I think it's close. I think the Birds come out with the dub. Eagles, Cowboys, Saturday, Christmas Eve. The whole world's going to be watching, and the storylines will be plentiful.